Well, Walz is a buffoon. I'm sorry. This guy, he's the only school teacher in America who brags that none of his students can get into an Ivy League school.
I had 24 kids in my high school class, and none of them went to Yale.
He's had one consequential press interaction with our Dana Bash, who asked him about the fabrications in his own resume, and his answer was essentially, me no understand words good.
My wife, the English teacher, told me my grammar's not always correct, but again,
I mean, he's a buffoon. He's on a free ride for running under Harris. He gets very little press. They don't let him talk to the press.
Scott, man, I'm telling y'all, man, salute to that. Salute, man, the truth. But again, like I tell y'all, people don't want to hear the truth. They don't care for the truth, or they run away from the truth. But it's the truth, man. Protect Scott at all costs, man. They literally I'm telling you, they might get this man out of here. They might get fired. I mean, just completely get him off CNN. Salute to this brother, man. And I hope y'all are ready for this debate. Because I know y'all seen what's hit the headlines or what they're saying now and what's came out. Oh boy. Somebody's a little intimidated. And I would be too, man. That JD Vance fella is nothing nice. That fella is standing on business.
For a reason. I want one thing out of this debate. I want JD Vance to go out there and get under his skin. He has legendary hot, short temper. A lot of governors do, but apparently he does. I want JD Vance to go out there and have him explain why he is denigrating JD Vance's story. Small town America ends up making something better out of his life, which is something we should want for every kid.
JD Vance is exceptional. He's an all-star player. What can we expect, and what is your advice going into Tuesday?
Well, I think this is actually going to be a very important debate. And the reason why is because we've heard nothing from Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. And so the nation doesn't know who Tim Walz is. I mean, people are still trying to figure out who Kamala Harris is, and she's not helping with these word salad interviews that are softballs, and she can't even do that right. So what you're going to see, I think, from JD is going to be a meticulous dissection of the disaster that has been the Kamala Harris-Joe Biden administration and how their plans are even worse than what they've done the last 3.5 years. And I'm not really sure what you're going to get out of Tim Walz. This is really his first time on the big stage like this. And because they've been hiding from the media, they're not prepared, in my view, to have to do this on the fly without being able to clip the interviews or clip your phrases the way you want. He's going to be in a back and forth in a tough interview with JD Vance in a tough situation. Meanwhile, JD, you've seen it, Charlie. JD has been all over the media nonstop for 2 months, really pushing the narrative, checking the media, pushing back on tough media. So I know he's more than prepared to step into Tuesday night's debate. It'll really be a contrast in what voters are looking at right now who are undecided. On one hand, you have Donald Trump and JD Vance. You know what they're going to do. You know what they stand for. Whether you agree, disagree, love, like, may not like is irrelevant. You know what's coming. Versus Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, you have no idea what they really stand for, except that Hollywood and the media just seem to like them. I don't think that's going to be enough for them to be successful. I think this debate is going to be watched. It's going to be clipped a lot. And the clipping of these debates, I think, matters even more than the actual live debate. And it's going to be, in my view, a technical knockout by JD.
But let me ask you about this for just very quickly. I heard Donald Trump before this debate describe Kamala Harris as, I'll just read a few of them, a low IQ individual, somebody who doesn't have the mental capacity to be president, really dumb, unable to put two sentences together. Is that what you saw on the stage tonight?
John, what I saw was a lot of slogans. I think the American people are smart, and Kamala Harris talks to them like they're children. She repeats these ridiculous platitudes where if you actually think about what she said, you realize that it doesn't make any sense. She talks a lot about her plans, but then her plans, when you analyze the substance, don't make any sense. And more importantly, John, the American people don't get fed on plans. She has been the vice president for 3.5 years. What she can't do, refuses to do, and has no ability to do is to say, I accomplished lower prices because she didn't, or I accomplished lower housing prices because she didn't, or I secured the southern border because she didn't do that. She has failed as vice president, and the fundamental question is, do we want to give her a promotion? I think the answer has to be no, John.
He brought up this misleading, false claim that you yourself have talked about in recent days about Haitian immigrants in Springfield, Ohio, abducting people's pets and eating them, which officials there have said is not true. You yourself acknowledged it may be false on Twitter. You still told people to keep spreading it. But Trump just amplified it to tens of millions of people who were watching. Why push something that's not true?
Well, first of all, city officials have not said it's not true. They've said they don't have all the evidence.
They said they have no evidence.
We've heard from a number of constituents on the ground, Caitlin, who both firsthand and secondhand reports saying this stuff is happening. So they very clearly, meaning the people on the ground dealing with this, think that it is happening. And I think that it's important for journalists to actually get on the ground and uncover this stuff for themselves when you have...
Bro, do y'all see how he be handling these situations, though, bro? Y'all see how this is why he was chose, man. And again, he wasn't in our VP. Y'all, be honest. There's tons of you guys that agree with my VP choices. And y'all know he wasn't in there. We just didn't see it. We talked about, there's a chance of JD Vance, especially towards, the last 2 months. But he was nowhere on our list. Y'all knew my top 3, my top 6. But now everybody is falling in love with this man. And just... watch how he handles everything, man. How he handles CNN, MSNBC, the woke media, the fake news, the enemy of the people. He's not a push around. He's not spineless. Tough fella, man.
A lot of people saying my pets are being abducted, or geese at the city pond are being abducted and slaughtered right in front of us. This is crazy stuff. And again, whether those exact rumors turn out to be mostly true, somewhat true, whatever the case may be, Caitlin, this town has been ravaged by 20,000 migrants coming in. Healthcare costs are up. Housing costs are up. Communicable diseases like HIV and TB have skyrocketed in this small Ohio town. This is what Kamala Harris's border policies have done. And I think it's interesting, Caitlin, that the media didn't care about the carnage wrought by these policies until we turned it into a meme about cats. And that speaks to the media's failure to care about what's going on in these communities. If we have to meme about it to get the media to care, we're going to keep on doing it because the media should care about what's going on.
I saw you say
wants access to American markets. If you want access to American markets, you can't use Chinese slave labor to produce your products. You've got to be able to use American workers, and that's the whole thrust of Donald Trump's economic policies.
Apple's an evil company.
Yeah, can we talk about big tech? Yeah,
let's talk about big
you
tech.
seem to have kind of
do I think it's to answer Becky's question? Do I think Apple's an evil company? No. Do I think that sometimes they benefit from Chinese slave labor? Yeah, and that's pretty sick. And I think that a company that wants to benefit from American markets should also have to pay American workers a fair wage.
All right, now CBS, who's hosting this vice presidential debate, said moderators will not be fact-checking the candidates. But as you can see in this clip right here, I'm going to show y'all. This is one of the moderators that is going to be on this debate, Margaret. But I want to play this clip for y'all, and we're going to see if this debate will be between JD Vance and Tampon Tim, or JD Vance versus Margaret Brennan, this lady right here. We're going to see, man. Hopefully, they say, again, they already got a lot of backlash from the ABC debate versus Trump and Kamala about it being a 3-1, and everybody, even her voter base and, undecideds, and everybody was saying, why was it a 3-1? And a lot of people even said Trump won. And again, that Kamala didn't answer any questions, and that she didn't get fact checked it not once, but they fact checked it Trump the entire time. And some of the fact checking was just absolutely ridiculous. Even, going after one of Trump's sarcastic remarks, about the election. I mean, it's just ridiculous, man. And it's, again, they have wiped this Trump and Vance ticket through the mud. It is corrupt. And everybody is waking up and seeing what's actually going on. But this lady right here will be the moderator, one of the moderators for this vice presidential debate. So we're going to see how this thing play out, but I want to play this clip for y'all real quick.
Do you use the FDA to block access to this drug?
Well, no. What the president has said very clearly is that abortion policy should be made by the states, right? You, of course, want to make sure that any medicine is safe, that it's prescribed in the right way, and so forth. But the president wants individual states to make these decisions because, look, Margaret, California is going to have a different abortion policy from Ohio, which is going to have a different abortion policy from Alabama.
But that was actually different because after Dobbs, the Supreme Court took up this case.
Yeah, but like
they
you
viewed
said,
it as different.
Sure, but like you said, on a matter of legal standing, but I think that what we really want is when states and voters in those states make decisions, we of course want the states and the federal government to respect those decisions, and that's what President Trump has said, is consistently we need to get out of the culture war side of the abortion issue. We need to let the states decide their specific abortion policy, and look, what President Trump and I want to do on family policy is make it easier for families to start in the first place.
So at his presser this past week, Donald Trump seemed to indicate he was open to restrictions on mifepristone. He was asked by a reporter about this, and he said there are many things on a humane basis that you can do, but also give a vote. So he did seem to be indicating he's open to restrictions on this particular drug.
First of all, even some of the reporters who were in the room at that press conference said it wasn't clear what the reporter was asking. Maybe he couldn't hear that person super clearly. So I don't want to put words in President Trump's mouth. What he has said very clearly in the debate is that he agrees with the Supreme Court decision, but more importantly, he wants these decisions to be made by the states.
You personally signed on as the senator to a letter to the DOJ demanding it shut down all mail order abortion operations under the Comstock Act. So would you seek to enforce that law differently?
Well, what we said in that letter, Margaret, is that we want doctors to prescribe this stuff to ensure that it's safe. I mean, we do this with antibiotics, we do this with a lot of antidepressants, and we just want the FDA to make sure that doctors are prescribing this in a safe way. That's all that we ever said, and I believe that that is how President Trump feels about this, is again, you want the state...
Well, man, what do y'all think it'll be, again, the candidate versus the moderators, you know? Hopefully they, you know, that they stick to their word. But you see this clip resurfacing everywhere. As she is going to be one of the moderators for this vice presidential debate.
So what's your expectation for the upcoming vice presidential debate?
That Vance will win. I expect them to get down and dirty.
I'm expecting Tim Walz to do much better than J.D. Vance.
My expectations are the moderators will not be impartial.
I think it's going to be very entertaining. I think they'll both have some good, funny sound bites and some good, informative things for the people to know as well.
It'll be pretty close in my mind. I think it will lean a little more towards the Republican side, but I think Walz will do pretty well.
Well, I hope J.D. Vance does quite well. I just read up there Abraham Lincoln Memorial and what he stood for. And that's the people, all people.
They can just explain the details of their role. If that happened, then everyone would have more clarity.
I think it's going to become clear that certain candidates have a clear stance to make and others are just really involved with inciting some of the other problems that we're seeing.
Do you expect this vice presidential debate to be as consequential as the presidential debate between Trump and Harris?
Yes, it probably is. 4 years ago when Kamala was doing the vice presidential debate, people might not have thought much of it, but the vice president could be the future president in 4 years.
Because I feel like it's just as important, if sometimes not more important.
Well, undecided people might put the vice presidential debate weight a little heavier.
If they are a little bit more lucid in their descriptions, then it would have impact because everyone would actually know what they stand for.
It definitely won't be as consequential. I don't think either of them will have as much of an impact as we expect.
No, I think the Trump versus Harris debate is much more consequential just because the presidency is much more important to the ticket.
More information will come out from this debate that'll make voters understand a little bit about the actual partnership that they might be investing in or voting for versus the individual.